only wants you to make good beer and have fun hanging out with your friends. Here's Dono. Today's episode brought to you with support from Northern Brewer. I've been buying my ingredients and supplies there for 23 years. I'm delighted to have them in support of the program. Check them out at northernbrewer.com. Today on the program, a Northern Brewer kit, which is something that looked appealing to make anyway. It includes, the thing that's different is this 1.5 pounds of this syrup. Otherwise, it's a pretty light grain bill. 8 pounds of pills, 1/2 pound of Cara pills, 2 ounces of hops. I was looking at these instructions a little bit. It looked like they were saying to mash at 154 and then adding the syrup at the end of the boil. 1 ounce bittering, 1 ounce with 10 minutes remaining. So I have the grains downstairs. We'll get those crushed, get them mashing, and away we go. It is December 29th. It's about 30 degrees right now. As you can see, no snow. So that's interesting, a little frost. But alright, so we got the first hop addition coming up. Tetnang. Now they, on the recipe instructions, say to boil for 90 minutes. So basically it would be a 30-minute boil before adding the first hops. Now I had 6.5 gallons, and looking at all my notes, normally if I boil 6.5 gallons for the 60 minutes, I get about 5 gallons. So I don't really have enough volume to boil for an extra 30 minutes, but just for fun, I did boil for 10 minutes right now before adding these hops. So I think some of the thinking is that with a lot of Pils malt, you do a longer boil to help with what, diacetyl, DMS, I don't know, some kind of a thing with Pils malt. You do a longer boil. I don't really ever have a problem with it. So yeah, I did a little extra 10 minutes just for fun. But there go the first boil hop addition. It is nice and sunny out right now, and this is sort of the marquee item of this kit, the thing that makes it different than just basically like a Pilsner. So we are going to add it now. Alright, get a little stir going. I don't know how many gravity points I'll get off of this. You get 7, 8, 9 points out of a pound of sugar or honey. So this is 1.5 pounds. So maybe it will be 7 to 10 gravity points. The wort was already looking like it was about 1040 even before boiling. So actually we will see, but maybe this beer will get to be a little over 1050, which was the target gravity. And while this is all in process, I'm going to go get the wort chiller, but I'm also going to add the last hop addition that they say is for 10 minutes, but for me it's going to be about 15 minutes. And I'll go get the wort chiller. Chilling now, almost ready to get it into the fermenter. We haven't talked about yeast yet, so with this kit, and honestly, I don't get the kits normally, and this was a sponsorship kit, but they have interesting options to get 2 packages. And I guess the point of that is then you don't have to make a yeast starter, but of course if you're frugal and trying to save money and not trying to buy 2 yeast packages for 1 batch, you would hopefully be able to just get 1 and then make a starter, because it's a lager, so making a starter is a good idea. But because it was a sponsorship idea, I just took what they offered, and so I will just be pitching both of these yeast packs as is. I will do the pure oxygen, but for a 1050 or so beer, that should be plenty of yeast. So I can film one of these, but Omega yeast, Mexican lager, don't drop it, and there we go. Make sure I get it all in there. So yeah, I'll get the second one in and then do some pure oxygen. It is now a little over 24 hours after pitching the yeast, and I came down this morning and it was bubbling. So we can take a quick look here. Now I actually, there is a krausen of sorts forming. I actually put some ice jugs here because it was about 55 and the recommended range was 50 to 55, and so I thought, well, it's gonna get even warmer once it gets going. So right now it looks like it's about 50, so I don't need to keep it too much colder than that, but I am doing a lager fermentation. I got those 2 packs of yeast in there, aerated with pure oxygen, so should be fine. A side note here is, here's my 1-year-old cider on the right, and as you can see, or as you can imagine, it looks pretty darn clear. And here's like my almost 2-month-old cider that I did rack out of the fermenter, but it's, you know, not as clear. With that sweater, you better. Okay, so this is the Agave Mexican lager. Now, it did not get, or did it? What would you talk about the clarity? Is it not like crystal, super clear?
No.
So I did not do gelled. I often do, and this one was sitting around for so long, and I was doing the dry January, and I made it at the end of December, and now it's nearing the end of February, and I thought, give it some time. Do it, you know, the old-fashioned.
I mean,
but
there may just be like a titch of haze.
It's clear.
Yeah, I think so.
For sure.
It went down to 1.008. Get my cheat sheet here. 1055 I got for the OG. Fermented fine. No off flavors. We'll get into what we think about it in a minute, but before I do, I have to say I'm wearing my Marius sweater from Ivar and Johnny when they were here visiting from Norway. This is a handmade sweater. It is a traditional pattern. I guess the Marius sweater is a very popular pattern. It's one that people make at home. I think there's also, like, you can buy examples of it, but thank you, Ivar and Johnny. It's nice and toasty warm. And
it's a beautiful sweater.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have like snow on the ground.
Yeah, no. Gift from Ivar. He made it sound like it's kind of like something you find in second-hand and thrift shops, and more authentic, like this one, versus how they make them today. So I think it's a very
it's a. I mean, I was
throwback.
honored. I was honored and flattered that they would give it to me after never having met me and like bring it up. But so yeah, I wanted to get in the video. Here it is. Nice and toasty wood. All right. So anyway, this beer, we were talking before we started drinking. I feel like, unlike when I put like a pound of white sugar in my India Pale Lagers, or even rarely when I've used a pound of honey feel like those things don't really actually give me a lot of flavor or flavor difference, but this beer I think does drink different than if it did not have the agave syrup.
It's too bad we don't have just some syrup to taste.
I do actually.
Oh.
Not the same, not the exact same stuff, but I have it. Let me go grab it.
Huh?
Chip, what do you taste?
We talked a little bit. I mean, it doesn't taste like raw pills, Tetming hops, and Omega Mexican lager.
There's a little something else in there, right?
There's something in there.
Yeah.
Kind of, we don't know often if the beer kit description kind of like leads the jury, but I get this kind of honeyed herbaceousness.
You can't.
A little like.
You can't. You need two hands.
It doesn't scream like sage or like.
Oh shit! It's runny.
But there's a layer of something in there that's kind of nice, especially if you were to have like an actual pills on tap and then this or something where it tastes a little more like. I'm gonna throw it out there because I do this a lot when something's like just it's a little cream ale with the lager. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This just tastes like sugar water to me. You can try some if you want. It's very runny. You can just
I'm
go.
not gonna taste it.
So one thing I was reading a little bit about people that brew with this agave syrup, and one person said it might give you a little tequila flavor, and I'm like, how do you describe what that is? You maybe you've drank tequila and you know what that tastes like, but to me, there is almost like a little bit of an alcohol note or suggestion in this beer that isn't in a beer with 100% barley.
I will say this, and I don't know how this would come out in the wash, but it does say it's 1.5 times sweeter than sugar. So I don't know if that means if the sugars ferment out, there's still this sweetness, or if it just means it's a more potent sugar. I don't know, but like, it definitely is setting itself apart.
Well, and this is what I put on oatmeal and stuff. That's not like actually what the Northern Brewer. Yeah, yeah,
That's
right.
light.
Yes. This
So
is
that's
light blue agave.
The smell of it is very like Lyle's golden syrup, which I mean they use to like fortify British beers, all kinds of, or not even fortify. Like you might do a mild with something like that.
Yeah.
It just happens to be 2 pounds of malt and then
Yeah.
the syrup. So
My brain is going on two things. One is what does tequila taste like, and how would you actually quantify that?
Yeah.
Two is like as this warms up and opens up, like I'm able to kind of like tease out the malt a little bit more, right? Like there's some saltine, bread crust kind of cereal type flavor, which I associate with that Pils malt. But then yeah, there is something else. It's like floral. I think the herbaceous is an interesting call out, and I think you can apply that descriptor to some tequilas. I think of green fruit a lot, like with Blanco tequila, like green grapes, green apples, maybe kiwi, unripe mango, and then like some funkier, smokier creosote kind of stuff.
true.
Which I think you get from like some of the less refined agave products. You get it, and I get some of that like green fruit note in this, which I think you could mistake for an ester at first, but I think it might actually be the agave.
I don't think I have that developed of a tasting
imagination,
right? Tasting capability, but
I would say short of brewing something like the Lime Tree Lager, that is
all
delicious
lime.
but feels more gimmicky. Like this still is not a classic lager style, but like is enjoyable, crushable,
Very crushable.
without being like, you did what to that beer? It's not like rice syrup.
well,
Those are
right.
rice
It's not a
You were talking about corn and rice.
it's not an
Mexican
adjunct.
lager.
Well, I mean, it's not a rice or corn adjunct
yeah.
beer, which you assume the Coronas and the Mexican lagers. I mean, I don't know for a fact. I assume they have some type of adjunct in them.
Corn.
Do they?
Yeah,
Most of them?
I'm a big fan of Mexican lagers, and
Okay.
I do like them with corn. This is different.
And Northern Brewer
It's
has on
crushable.
the labeling they call it a Mexican lager, but that's, I guess,
Is that because of the yeast?
it must be based
And the
on yeast.
agave?
Like my, well,
And the
that's
agave.
true. That's true.
It's kind of like a little wink and
But
a
it's
nod.
not trying to make a Tecate or a Modelo or
Right.
whatever.
Especially.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, it's a drinkable, enjoyable beer. I don't know if the agave, whatever it's doing and contributing to this, I don't know if it's something that I would want to make again necessarily. It's certainly, maybe like some people might drink this and be like, oh, I like this better than like 100%, barley beer.
Mm-hmm.
I do like using corn and rice in beers now that I've gotten on that kick over the last few years. The cream ales, the cold IPAs, the cream lagers, just different things
Your
like that.
classic
I've made.
Mexican lagers.
Yeah, I mean, I do like that. I don't know about if I prefer this, but it's.
Do you like
good
tequila?
beer. I like it all right. Yeah, I don't know that I'm tasting tequila in this, but there's something that is a little different.
It's like pre-tequila.
Well, I was gonna say it's like saying like, do you like maple syrup or do you like tree sap water?
Right. Yeah, agave isn't. Right. Do you like potatoes? Do you like vodka?
Do you like corn mush or do you like bourbon?
There you go. Well, anyway, thank you to Northern Brewer for sponsoring this episode. I appreciate it. And check them out. Go buy your stuff from them online. Not in the brick and mortar stores. Dadgummit. R.I.P. Force them out. Just kidding.
Chip's not saying anything.
Alright, well, thanks for watching. Thank you guys for coming over. Cheers. And we'll catch you later. Norway!